Welcome back to Man vs. Meeple, the show where we talk about all things board game related. Today we're bringing you a review of Escape from 100 Million BC, brand new game from IDW. This is a 1 to 6 player game and a co-op and a really cool theme.
A co-op, and a cool theme brings back memories of Land of the Lost, or maybe more unfortunate memories of Sound of Thunder. Hopefully it's more Land of the Lost than Sound of Thunder. We probably shouldn't have mentioned that,
because that totally dates us and tells our age, right? So this is a cool co-op game. You are time travelers, and the professor has landed you on this area, and when he landed on the top of this mountain or volcano, all the timepieces were thrown across the island. Of course,
as they are.
And all the supplies as well. So your job here as a group is to go out there, find the timepieces, bring them back to the professor to be reassembled, but also to gather all the equipment in hopes that you don't create paradoxes and change the whole timeline completely.
No stepping on butterflies. You may have to rescue JFK. All sorts of things might happen.
You have plains and mountains and swamps and forests and mountains, and these are all varying degrees of difficulty. As you see, everyone will start in the center on the volcano, and the land gets more perilous as you spread out, with basically water and swamps being the most difficult, but also having the most number of timepieces and the most number of supplies as well.
Risk reward.
Yep. You have the time machine parts. There are up to 9 time machine parts, depending on the level of difficulty that you wish to play. You can either collect 6 of those, or up to 9 to make it more difficult. On the far right of the board, you have the emergency recall. At any time, your player can be recalled back to the professor, which is basically fast travel.
Right.
But in order to do that, you have to push up this emergency recall. You have to drop all the time machine parts that you have collected and have not returned back to him, and then you're going to take some paradox to do so. The whole idea in the game is to try to do all of these things before the paradox level moves all the way up and makes the entire volcano explode.
Yeah, the volcano explode, the space-time continuum ripping apart, all sorts of bad things,
and everyone dies.
Yeah.
So as we said, it's 1 to 6 players to start the game. Each player is going to collect one of the player boards. Each player is going to get 2 pieces of random supplies. That could be guns or armor pieces. It
can be really cool
boots,
stuff too. I mean, you're getting these things randomly, and there's some pretty crazy pieces of equipment in there.
Yeah. Each player has their own special abilities. They also, on your player board, you have Brawn, which is your ability to fight back against the dinosaurs that roam the island. Your Will, which is basically your ability to reroll dice, or to manipulate dice. You have your Speed. That's how many spaces you can move on your turn, and then how many injuries that you can take through the course of the game.
Right.
Also, you're going to start on the paradox track according to the number of players. We're starting with a 4-player game, so we're going to start on the 4 hero space, and that will fluctuate depending upon the number of players. Also, you'll notice on this paradox track, you have time rifts. These are the special spots on the board that will open up rifts in time and bring these personalities back from the past.
Yeah, also all sorts of characters coming from all sorts of different timelines. We've got, like I said, JFK's in there. They've also got not just historic characters, but some kind of pop culture characters mixed into the mix. I saw some that seem similar to Doc Brown, some that seem similar to the Dude.
Right. So the number of time rifts that you're going to open, again, is dependent upon the number of players. We're playing with a 4-player game here, so 2 of the time rifts have opened up. We've randomly collected 2 of the castaways and seeded them onto the board according to some random tokens that came out as well.
Right.
Our whole idea here is to go out and gather these castaways and bring them back through their time rift gates in order to not create more paradox when we leave. As we mentioned, the whole idea is to gather these machine parts and all of the supplies and then get off of the island. But also what you're trying to do is collect all the castaways that have run amok up on the island. They create their own paradox from leaving them on the island and basically killing them by the time you leave.
Yeah, you've set into motion a lot of things here that you need to balance. Like any good co-op game, you're running around keeping a lot of plates spinning and hoping none of them drop.
Yeah. At the end of the board, you see a variety of different cards. You have supplies, castaways, adventures that players will go on. Each of the different locations will provide their own different adventures if you draw an adventure tile. And then you have the 3 different types of mobs. You have aquatic creatures, you have carnivores, and then you have herbivores.
Yeah.
And all of them have different keywords, different brawn, different strengths and weaknesses that you have to fight through when you encounter those.
Yeah, and even the
creatures.
herbivores will attack you.
Yes.
They may not eat you, but they'll
Pretty
definitely
viciously
attack.
at times as well. You have some crate cards. Anytime you encounter new supplies, you have to fight through all the castaways and any of the creatures there before you can start collecting those. So to note those, you have some tokens there. And then across the bottom of the board, you have the castaway and the creature track. Any creatures that you don't encounter right away or flee from, and any of the castaways you don't gather into your group will stay there, and you'll have to track them throughout the course of the game.
Right,
And they will move around. They have their own autonomous
it's kind
way
of
of
cool.
moving.
They have a little bit of an AI built into them, so there will be wandering creatures from time to time that you have to kind of navigate. Basically, every step you take in this game is a dangerous one that might set into motion a bunch of more bad things.
Right. The last couple things you have ammo tokens. Some of the weapons in the game require ammo in order to use them. Typically, those will also give you a special ability called Repel. You're going to want to repel these creatures most of the time because killing them creates paradox once again. You want to leave the island just the way you found it, right?
You can't do anything.
Yeah. So everyone's going to start in the volcano. We've already have a game in progress here, but on your turn, you're going to take your character and you're going to move them throughout the island. None of the island is discovered at the start. As we said, they are represented by tiles. When you move, you're allowed to move the number of spaces according to your movement on your particular character and any special abilities that they may have or any of the equipment that they may use as well. When you move, you're simply moving onto a new location and you're discovering that tile. When you discover that tile, you draw that tile from the board and you place it onto the area, and you place the 2 white arrows according to the area that you just came from. And then you encounter the tile. Sometimes the tiles have nothing on them. When there's nothing on them, you're allowed to continue your movement. If there is a creature there, or if there is a castaway there, or if there is an adventure, you have to stop your movement, and that will end your turn, making you encounter that particular spot. So let's talk about the actual cards themselves and what they do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
start with the equipment, because that's the ones that it's the most fun to encounter anyway.
One thing to note on them, each of them has their own paradox. As we mentioned, when you encounter these, you want to collect them, and you want to collect the entire stack before you leave, because anything that you leave there will add that paradox to the track. So if I left this piece of equipment that's a 4, I'm going to move this 4. For every single piece of equipment, they'll have their own paradox value.
It's just one more thing to sort of gather up and diminish, because not just timepieces went everywhere. There's machine guns, there's laser guns, there's sleep rays, all sorts of crazy things out there that you need to pick up.
Any of the equipment that you pick up, of course, if you can't pick up that piece of equipment, if there's an encounter there, you have to go through the encounter first before you can pick up those pieces of equipment. There's no limit to the amount of equipment that you can have. However, there is a limit to the amount of equipment that you can use per encounter. So if I'm getting to face a dinosaur, I can only use 1 castaway ability if I've recruited that castaway, and I can only use 1 of my pieces of equipment if I have more than 1 there. Typically, too, you're going to have to spend some will in order to use some of these. Some of these pieces of equipment have an activation keyword on there, meaning that you have to spend 1 of your will, which are 1 of these tokens. Everybody will start with a predetermined number of will according to their player board. And if you use any kind of weaponry, you're going to have to expend an ammo.
Right.
And you can get some of that ammo back from ammo crates that you can find scattered around the island as well.
There's a number of mechanisms in the game that allow you to get some of those resources back. Not only ammo, but will also. The character I played with actually generated 1 will at the beginning of each turn, which was nice, so I could really utilize those types of cards.
Yeah.
But it's important to not spend them all at once and leave yourself without any.
Right. So the second type of card are your castaways.
Yeah, the castaways. We already touched on this a little bit. These range from people like JFK, some of the other ones, Amelia Earhart. In fact, I have Amelia Earhart and JFK right here. These guys are going to come out onto the board, and when they do, they may be very far away from you. When these rifts open, they can open out in undiscovered territory.
Yeah.
So then you've got this future president wandering around the swamp in prehistoric time. So you need to get out there before he gets killed, because the other thing can happen, wandering monster can come out too that you trigger, and it might start wandering around as well.
Yeah. These rifts will open up at predetermined spots up on the board. There's also something called a paradox storm, which we'll get into, that could randomly open up one of the rifts. The rifts are completely random. They're numbered 1 through 6, and they're represented by tokens there at the end of the board. You're just going to flip over one of those tokens, and that particular rift will open. When you look at these castaways, they have 3 different kind of skill sets. They have a distrust, So you're going to have to recruit these guys because they don't know who you are or want to trust you at all.
Right.
So you're going to have to roll your will versus their distrust level. We'll get into the whole skill checks here in a moment. They have a number of spaces that they're going to spawn away from that rift. So they're not going to spawn right on the rift and allow you to take them right there.
No.
They're going to spawn away. You have to go catch them, go through a whole horde of enemies, and then return them back. And then, of course, they also have a paradox. So leaving them on the island is bad.
Right.
You don't want to do that. The next one are the adventures. Each of the adventures within the game have 5 different types of terrain at the bottom. You just need to make sure that the adventure tile that you go to matches that terrain. If it doesn't, you're going to keep drawing through the stack until you find an adventure for that area.
Yeah, and these are generally checks, right?
Yeah,
I mean, they range from like a boulder's rolling at you, or you have to scale a cliff,
Yeah.
or
Just
even,
take damage.
even crazier things. But they'll all mostly revolve around checks against some of your different stats,
Yep.
or simply rolling a die, and it might involve more than just the person who's encountering it.
And remember, going back, castaways and finding an adventure will end your movement for that turn. So you have to physically stop there and let the next player go. The last 3 areas are creatures that you can encounter. They're all represented by a particular icon. You have aquatic creatures, carnivores, and then herbivores. All of them have really cool, unique keywords within them. Some of them are like juggernauts, which allow them to move through partial paths or blocked paths. Each of these tiles in the game allows movement through them, but there's ways that places can be blocked.
Right.
Partially, that you'll need a machete to get through, or just blocked permanently that you can't get through.
Yeah, we kind of actually glossed over that. As you're revealing these tiles, it's really interesting the way this makes the board, it builds out the board, because you aren't just simply moving from hex to hex easily. When you reveal a tile, some of these have a log that represents a path being blocked, so you can't move from that hex to the hex adjacent to that log. Some of them have 3, maybe even 4 logs around them, so it's kind of a dead end. Then you have to backtrack and go another route to where you're trying to get.
Getting back to the 3 creatures, they all typically work in the same exact way, although they do become more difficult, with aquatic ones being probably the most difficult. On the cards themselves, you have a brawn. If you wish to fight the creature, you'll have to face its brawn versus your brawn, and then there is a flee or a speed that you have to beat if you try to flee it. Now, anytime you encounter one of these creatures, you're allowed to do one of 3 different things. You can fight it.
Bad idea.
Yeah. Not always, but typically, you can repel it or you can simply flee from it. If you combat it, you're going to be rolling your brawn against that creature's brawn. Now, combat, skill checks, everything that is done in the game is done with dice. You're using the white dice, and any rolls of a 4, 5, or 6 are successes, yes. With 6 being explosions, and you can continue rolling those over and over until they don't explode anymore. And you either have to match those skill checks or surpass them.
Yeah, and you can use all your equipment too to enhance this. And most of the equipment, like the guns in this case, are going to allow you to roll more dice. So you're basically trying to get your dice pool up to a similar level or close to what their dice pool is, and then hope for some rerolls and some explosions, using some will maybe to keep things going.
Yeah, so will allow you to roll an additional dice into that pool. And you can make that decision even after you've rolled, which is fantastic. If you defeat the creature and kill it, the creature is removed from the game, but you take 2 paradox because you've destroyed the natural order of the world at that point, right? So you're going to move up your paradox level twice. If you repel it, and that's done by very specific weapons, number 1, you have to expend a will in order to try to repel it, and then you're going to have to expend one of your ammo tokens. And then you're going to roll whatever that brawn of that weapon is plus your additional brawn. When you repel it, that creature, if you succeed his die rolls, will actually go into a discard pile and could reappear later. But he doesn't remain on the board, which is fantastic.
Exactly. He kind of like disappears into the night, if you will. And this is kind of cool. Thematically, it's like you're shooting a gun up into the air and scaring the creature off.
Yeah. Nor does it add paradox, which is another fantastic thing.
Repel seemed to be, in our play, the go-to option for the most part. No one wanted to run. Or couldn't run because it was faster than they were.
And you can flee. If you choose to flee, you don't have any weapons in front of you, or their brawn is just too large to think you could surpass it. You're going to get out of there. To flee, you're rolling dice according to your speed level, according to the creature's speed level. And if you succeed, you run away according to whatever die you roll So you're running in just some random direction according to the die. That creature will actually stay on there, go on that track, and will have autonomous movement through the course of the game. He could encounter another player and have to fight them. He could encounter another dinosaur in which the dinosaurs will fight each other. Or he could encounter one of your castaways that you haven't recovered and eat the castaway.
Yeah, and the really interesting thing here, too, is when you encounter one of these guys, you have to do one of these things.
Yes.
If you fail, guess what? You're doing it again.
Yeah.
And again until you succeed or die.
Yeah.
So we are actually pretty fortunate in our first play because I don't think anyone ever died.
No.
Couple of us came close, but... You know, once you go through a check, sometimes you might even check and say, okay, I'm running.
Yeah.
You know, because the brawn thing isn't working. And then this also brings into some of the abilities that the different characters have, because some of the characters have really good speed.
Yeah.
And they might find a pair of running shoes out there, you know, in the jungle.
Yeah.
And it increases their speed even more, so running away is a much better option for that character.
Let's speak about death, because it does happen, and it will happen within the game. When you die, it's not permanent. You're not out of the game. You will drop all of your time rift pieces that you've collected, and you will get teleported back to the professor, who is on the volcano himself. And you're going to have to use one of your emergency recalls, and that's going to move up 1, creating 1 paradox. Each time you recall, it's going to create more paradox. So if you get up to the number 5, guess what? You're adding 5 paradox if you get recalled. So that can be voluntarily to come back or through death.
Right. It's basically a last-minute teleport, I guess.
Right. And as I said, a lot of these creatures have different abilities. They have the ability to move through areas. They have the ability to draw additional creatures to create packs.
That is one of the cooler ones. We encountered a lot of pack creatures, and you just keep drawing, 2 or 3 cards until you don't draw another one of those creatures, and each one you do draw enhances its brawn.
Yeah, there's some that have ambush. That means you have to attack them on the first choice. You don't have the ability to flee right away. And a whole bunch of different variety of different things that can happen when you encounter them.
Yeah, and a good variety of creatures, too. I expected when I looked through those decks just to find maybe 4 different types.
Yeah.
But they have a really decent variety. Mm-hmm. And then they always have 1 or 2 that are pretty unique and pretty tough.
Pretty awful, yeah. So once each player has gone around the table, taken their turn, you didn't have a paradox turn, what happens at this point is that one of the players at the table is going to roll 2 dice, 1 of the white dice, 1 of the red die. They're going to roll those dice, and they're going to look onto the board and see if any of these time rifts have been opened. For instance, we're looking for the 3 time rift and the 5 time rift. If either of those have been opened, you're going to move the paradox forward 1 space for each of those die. The next thing that happens is you're going to move any of the creatures or any of the castaways on the board that have not been removed or collected by another player, as in the castaways being recruited. You're going to look at the red die, and you're going to move them onto the spaces according to whatever is on those tiles themselves.
Right.
The last thing you're going to do is you're going to add up these 2 dice and look at the sum. In this case, it's 8, and you're going to see where you are on the temporal instability track. Now, each of these areas is broken down into temporal instabilities, which have a number. If you're equal to or lower than that number, you're going to move the paradox forward 1.
Right. So in this case, rolling an 8, we're in the temporal instability of 6.
Yep.
We're
You're
good.
Yeah. So those are the basic ways that the paradox level will move up. Again, if any of the creatures or any of the castaways get eaten by dinosaurs, that will also move them up according to whatever paradox level they have. You're going to continue playing this round after round until all these timepieces are collected and brought back to the professor in the center. Then each player has to return to the center, and you take off. Any of the equipment pieces that are left, you're going to go through that supply deck, add up all that paradox.
Yeah.
If it equals or exceeds the volcano, doesn't matter, you guys have lost. Any of the castaways that you left, also you're going to add into the paradox. And again, if that meets or exceeds, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you have a pretty cool little game in stuff here. At the back of the rule book, you have about 30-some different things that can happen to the players. Right. We got really lucky. We fell on that 1 through 10, so we got the best possible ending, which is nothing happened. When we came back, the media loved us. But there's great things in there, like dinosaurs now talk. And humans are their subjects, like all kinds of cool things.
We also played on the easier or normal or easy setting.
We played on the number 6, so we just needed 6 timepieces. We got through all the supplies, and we also played with 4 players, which I felt was a lot easier to do as well. So this is a review. What do you think?
I like it. You know, I'll start by saying co-ops are not generally my favorite games. The theme of this is super exciting to me.
I agree.
A huge time travel nerd, and like I said at the beginning of the review, it definitely gives those vibes of like Land of the Lost and going back there and, the butterfly effect and screwing things up and changing things. So I really was a little bit more open to it. The way this works is pretty standard.
Yeah.
It's in many ways like very, a lot of other co-ops where things are getting hairier. You're moving, and every move you make is a risk. And hopefully, when it comes down to rolling some dice, you can win out and use some of what you've collected to really kind of get those successes when you need them.
Yeah, I think the theme really shines in this game as well. I think it's a huge draw for everybody that played the game with us. I think people's opinion about the game is going to really depend upon their like of dice. I mean, it is a dice chucker. Everything is dependent upon passive skills and active skills and rolling dice to see if you've failed or succeeded. So if you like that thing in games, you are going to love this if you like the theme as well. If you don't like this type of things, I don't think you're going to find much enjoyment from
if you're not a fan at all of leaving your destiny up to dice, then that can be a problem, just like many, many games.
Yep.
I will. With that said, though, I'll say that the things that you encounter in this co-op when you roll the dice, compared to a lot of other co-ops I've played, I enjoy these things a lot more. Maybe it's the theme, but I like the variety of how you have to deal with the creatures and the different ways that you can deal with the creatures. Then they have the adventures, and then you've got those survivors,
castaways.
the castaways coming back that you have to deal with as well. And it's cool because you're not only, at the beginning of the game, you're like, okay, we're collecting timepieces, we get them, we're gone, okay, good. Then the castaways start coming in, and like, oh, now we got to worry about the castaways. And you mentioned earlier, you can get to the point where you have all the timepieces, you're back at the volcano, and then we look at the equipment deck and think, we better go out and collect some more equipment because we could finish here and still lose because there might be some big, juicy equipment in that
And
pack.
typically at that point, you've spread out, so you're going to have to tap the ocean areas and the swamp areas, which have some of the very difficult creatures to get through.
And risking that at that point in the game is a really tough and exciting decision.
Yeah. So, guys, this is Escape from 100 Million BC. Hopefully I got that name right. It's a long one. From IDW, it plays 1 to 6 players, plays in about 60 to 90 minutes.
Yeah, 90 minutes probably.
Great game. If you guys have any questions, ask them in the comments below. We'll answer them for you. Subscribe to us, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. If you guys are at Origins, come by and say hi to us.
Yes.
Play a game with us. Introduce yourselves, and we'll do the same, and we will catch you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Season 1 of Man vs. Meeple is sponsored by our friends at TMG Games. And at Cool Stuff Inc. Cool stuff in stock at coolstuffinc.com.